Now to a bombshell report from Politico that goes into detail on how election officials are concerned that groups looking to undermine election results are recruiting poll workers to sow doubts about the 2022 midterms. The reporting is citing Michigan, saying, quote, Michigan in particular has been a hotspot. A far-right candidate for governor who lost the GOP primary encouraged poll workers to unplug election equipment if they believed something was wrong. A Michigan County GOP organization encouraged poll workers to ignore rules barring cell phones in polling places and vote counting centers. Now, look, those who watch this show regularly know that I try to look forward as much as possible rather than just looking back. It's part of the reason I don't cover every nook and cranny that comes out of the January 6th Commission. It's why I've criticized some of the left-leaning media for its breathless coverage of each subpoena and vote that the subpoena issues or has, that the committee issues or has. And that's why what happens in 2022 is more important to me today than what happened in 2020, even though the two are connected. Look, there's no credible evidence that the 2020 election was somehow overwhelmed with fraud and therefore illegitimate. I've reviewed everything. It's publicly available. But I am much more concerned about new data from Yahoo News and YouGov that shows that when asked, just 46% of Americans believe candidates should commit in advance to accepting the results. Less than half believe the candidate should simply pledge to accept the results. That's a big ask. 55% say once all the votes are counted, the candidate with the fewer votes should concede. Just 55% believe that after all the votes are counted, after any challenge and recount, that the person who lost should concede. It's gotten that bad? Do we have issues with our elections? Yes. Is there credible evidence of systemic voter fraud in recent elections? No. Has there been fraud in elections? Absolutely. Is there credible evidence of systemic or even significant fraud in recent major elections? No. Should one side or the other or both fight in court to try to ensure votes are counted fairly? Sure. But that still doesn't mean there's been any credible evidence of fraud that would have changed the outcome of a major recent election. The midterm elections are just 35 days away, and there is no reason to question the elections will be fair unless you listen to former President Donald Trump, who continued to try to undermine confidence in our elections at a rally this weekend in Michigan.
As we talk about and think of the rigged and stolen election of 2020, presidential election, rigged and stolen. First of all, I thought we were going to easily win the election, which we did.
And look, that's looking back. But he went even a step further.
I don't believe we'll ever have a fair election again. I don't believe it.
I would hope that any reasonable supporter of the former president would agree that at the least that sort of statement is not productive and potentially dangerous. One of the candidates the former president was in Michigan to support is Tudor Dixon, the state's Republican nominee for governor, who herself has refused to commit to accepting the results of her election against incumbent Governor Gretchen Whitmer. This is scary stuff. All I want is for the people, you, we, to decide who wins. And that's what happens when we vote. Fight over the rules, over the hours, over absentee ballots, over drop boxes, over IDs. Fair enough. But we must accept the results. Conservative pollster Frank Luntz is at a conservative conference in England, and he gave those in attendance a stark warning on MSNBC.
What's your takeaway from these numbers?
Scary as hell. When you lose the faith and trust in elections itself, you've lost your democracy. And we are so close to the edge. I'm sitting in this room right now with a group of students from Radley College, and I have to teach them, I have to explain to them that this isn't the way democracy is supposed to work, that you have winners and losers, you accept the loss, and then you move on. We are so poisoned, we are so toxic.
It can't be that the loser just gets to declare, I'm not conceding because I think I won. So how do we deal with this? Joining me now is Jon Gilmore. He's served as pollster for Republican National Convention, for the Republican Governors Association, National Republican Congressional Committee, and National Republican Senatorial Committee as well. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. So is this polling on how few people want our candidates to commit to accepting results real?
Yeah, and Dan, delighted to be with you tonight. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's real and it's really startling. When you look at the results, the first thing I want to note is 2 points. Polling's a snapshot in time, and as a pollster, we know that these results change day to day, week to week. And this survey was of adults. When you drill down into it, the voter registration numbers, you get down to 62% of registered voters. So I think that's the really critical demographic that we should look at. And that number still is startling too. And then overall in the poll, when you look at it, 83% of Democrats, 82% of Republicans, and 81% of independents said they're very worried about the future of our democracy. And I'm sitting here in my home office and I've got a book with Ronald Reagan laying on the table. And, we need to get back to the principles in our party that made America what America is today. The foundation and the bedrock by people like Ronald Reagan. You look at different elections in the past and leaders have stepped up and said, maybe it was contentious. Think about Nixon. You think about Gore. They conceded the race.
So what can we do? What can we do now? Is there anything, that you can do? And look, this is not, I don't like characterizing this as a Republican or Democrat, but it is definitely something that Donald Trump in particular has been advocating, right? Is this sort of distrust in the elections, distrust moving forward to 2022. Yeah. Democrats did it a bit in 2016, where we saw some of the Democrats refusing to accept the results of the election. No doubt about it. But this right now seems to be a particular Donald Trump-led issue. What can Republicans do about it?
We're at a pivotal crossroads in the future of our party. We can either look to the past and allow personalities of the past to dictate where we go as a party, or we can look to the future. And we've got to have leaders in our party stand up and lift their voice and say, enough is enough. And the fact is that there's not widespread voter fraud. Sure, are there irregularities that happen time to time? Absolutely. And they should be investigated and they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But to say that in right now in America, that we have people thinking that our elections are rigged, that we can't accept the results, is absolutely wrong. I've been involved in the Republican Party for 20 years, going back to 2002. I've worked for some great leaders who have lost some tough races and currently serve as a pollster to Asa Hutchinson. He lost a race in 2006. It never even crossed his mind to not concede a race. It's a tough election night, but you concede. And that's what the future of our party and the future of America is all about.
And it just scares the heck out of me. And it's not even just the political leaders, right? It's the public. Now the public. I mean, that's what this poll shows us, is how much of the public is saying, well, I don't expect candidates to accept the results of an election. It's just astonishing. Final word, I got to wrap it up.
It's adults in this survey. Last thing I'll say is my wife is an immigrant, came here from Singapore, voted in the presidential election for the first time. And for her to sit here and watch this election process in America, and for people to say that there's somehow elections are being rigged or there's somehow voter fraud, like I said, investigate it, fight it to the full extent of the law. But at the end of the day, our elections are secure here in America.
Jon Gilmore, thank you very much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.